Welcome to Rooster Radio, a broadcast dedicated to supporting and promoting local artists in the Gaston County and surrounding areas.
Soda Pop.
Yeah, all that stuff.
That was one of the best seasons ever.
Oh, absolutely.
The season was so funny.
I love how much we end up talking about South Park.
We really talked about South Park.
I mean, it's oh my God, it's a cultural phenomenon, man.
I'm a Charlotte native, and I hear all this stuff coming out. I'm like, and I live in Gaston County now, and like that's bullshit. That's not what that's called.
Yeah. Nobody asked. Who asked for this? Like, who started this?
Right. I hate that so much.
And there are a lot of good restaurants in Charlotte. We just don't go out. I mean,
The original Fat Burrito was like right down the road from Amos's.
okay.
And it was one of those places you could walk to while you waited in line for the concert, and then you could just eat while you're waiting.
Yeah, I'm a creature of habit. Anytime I ever went to shows like over on South End, we'd go to Pinky's.
Okay, yeah.
That was kind of our spot. You know, it was because coming from here, we would just take Freedom.
Yeah.
Just hit Pinky's and then shoot right
Yeah.
up
Really on the
to
way.
Amos's or Tremont or whatever.
I mean, you had at the time then you had Prices or Fat Burrito, and it's like, do I want chicken or do I want burrito? Right.
Well, you can't forget about, and it's actually a big part of our story too, the Common Market in South End.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that was kind of our origin story.
Yeah, we all worked there, but it was like the one with like the courtyard patio. It was across the street from
the apple
Fat
tree.
It
Burrito.
sounds like we found a great place to start. So
Yeah.
we're talking with Matt, Dominic, and Richie of the Phantom Friends. And so start there. You said you were all working at Common Market.
Yeah, like legitimately, the whole project kind of started because so I was back of house, and then there's like front of house people, and this guy TJ, we just immediately shout him out, I guess, like in the first 10 seconds of this. But like literally, it was just like, hey Richie, we're doing a show, like, can you like put a band together and like play in like the patio? And I was like,
At the Common Market?
Okay, at Common Market, yeah, we'd have shows there consistently, and it was like, all right, let's put a band together. Let's figure this out. And then we also were roommates, too, at the time at a house that was like a mile away from the old Common Market South End, too. So it was like perfect like proximity to everything. We all lived together. We've all known each other for a million years and have played music together also for a million years. So it was like, all right, crap, got to put music together. Let's like get into it. And then kind of jumped in.
I'd say specifically everybody working at that Common Market had some sort of like band or they were doing visual arts, something like that. And we always used to talk about like, oh yeah, we've been in bands and nobody ever believed us. So we're like, all right, it's time to show y'all that we actually play music legitimately. And that was just like the perfect timing for it because unfortunately, so Common Market, as y'all probably know, that original South End one closed down, but since so many people were involved with some sort of music, they decided to do, like a big show out in the parking lot. So it was the going away party, and that's when we got started there.
Yeah.
So you guys were already musicians, but y'all had never really jammed together, or were you jamming together? Like how?
You want to take that?
Him and I actually played together in a band in high school. We're actually at the front page of the yearbook.
If you you open it up and
in
then it's
zebra print pants and cheetah print.
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go further back.
Yeah, it was worth it. Well, I knew you around the same time too, Matt. But we played in a band then, and then it kind of rolled out a little bit beyond high school. But then there was kind of like a little break in it, and I don't know. We always kind of made music off and on together, and like even with Matt too. Like I think we would just have late night jams. We used to call it Advil. And and like it would be like kind of like weird jazz stuff.
Band names are not our strong suit, you can't tell.
But yeah, and like so we were all familiar with each other and like all living together at the same time. It was just really easy like to move into the flow of jamming. And I think that first like show that we played, we put like 5 songs together in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for the Common Market gig, it was literally like we gotta like move.
So you were writing songs. You weren't just covering or nothing. You were writing your own music, and you had a couple weeks to put together a show.
Something like that. Yeah, it was like very quick. But thankfully, because we lived together, we had time, and we all worked at the same place, so we were basically spending like 24 hours, all together all the time. So like, yeah, and I think it's one of those things where like having a deadline can definitely help like propel creativity like out of necessity. So it definitely got there, and now like nowadays our whole writing process is completely shifted because now we're like, okay, we can take our time, we can like really break apart what we're trying to go for, and there's a lot more back and forth, but I ultimately have like something that I think we're really proud of now. Whereas like back then it was like, okay, like we got to get this, we got to go to it, we got to do it now, kind of thing. So I don't know, it's been like a long evolution.
I love your music. You guys, I mean, if I had to put a genre on you, I would say indie rock, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
we don't know.
It sounds good. It's happy. Your music's happy. It's got a great like upbeat vibe. If you don't know, Phantom Friends will be playing here on November the 4th. They'll be headlining Saturday night show with Council Ring and Noir, which I had not heard of them until y'all put them on this lineup, so I'm excited to see those guys.
That's funny. Noir is TJ. He's in that band, and Dan. So they're like the other essentially like Common Market South End band that's still kind of doing stuff.
Cool.
So they're like, we're all kind of wrapped up in each other's history, like 100%. So it's cool to be able to like play shows with them. They also definitely lean into like the progressive rock stuff. Like we're all huge Mars Volta fans, and you can definitely hear it in Noir stuff too.
Okay, my wife loves Mars Volta.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, I was aware of them, and then when Christy and I started dating, she's like all in Mars Volta, and so now like I get it now. At the time, I've always gravitated toward the heavier stuff. I've always been kind of.
I mean, same. Yeah, I mean, we're wearing the metal shirts.
Yeah. but even before I got this place open, I still have a pretty broad taste. But yeah, I missed on. There was a couple of bands that I missed on, like growing up, that I've started to go back, like Queens of the Stone Age. When Queens of the Stone Age came out, I don't know if it's just because that song got played so much on the radio, it kind of got fatigued on it. But here lately, I find myself putting on their albums, I'm like, man, I was such a dick in my 20s about music,
I will say, as great as that song is, No One Knows, it's just like, it is a weird bop. So it's like, at that point in time when you heard something eerie like that, it's like, it's kind of hard to think like, do they write like just good rock? It's like, it was kind of hard to like get that.
If you listen to that album, it's a very good, complete album.
Oh, absolutely.
Top
to bottom, you can just start it and then get all the way to the end like easily. There's not every track's a banger in its own way.
Yeah, there's a First It Giveth. Like I've been like repeating that song lately.
Take it away.
Yes.
And it's like his ghoulish vocal that he does. Oh, so good.
It's just, I don't know. It just here lately, I've been thinking a lot about how, man, if I wasn't such a dick about a snob about music when I was younger,
I think everyone's been a snob at some point.
Yeah.
Though. Like I think everyone's guilty of that on some level.
But Phantom Friends, talk to me about the name, because that's a pretty unique name. Like, where'd that come from?
Gosh, I think we debate on where it came from. So, one thing that some people may not know is that every good band name that you could ever think of is already taken.
Yeah, you got a point there.
It's actually a fun game to like think of a band name, be like, oh, that'd be a good band name, and see how many of those exist on Spotify. Yeah. So
before Spotify, I was Googling it.
Yeah. So we used to be called Gistu.
Yeah.
Which has its own kind of North Carolina specific lore to it. But it always got misspelled as if it was like jujitsu.
Yeah.
So we were just so tired of that situation. And then somebody came up with the Phantom Friends.
Yeah, I think we was like, we went to Shaky Knees, and like, it's a really dumb origin story. Like, where the phrase came from specifically, and it's kind of debated because it was after a music festival, so we're a little faded. And like my recollection of it, at least, I think other people there have different versions of the story. But we went to this bar after Shaky Knees in like 2016. I think it was that long ago. And my now fiance at the time, she was my girlfriend then. But she ordered like a drink at the bar, and the bartender was like, "Oh, I was gonna post for somebody else, and they didn't show up. It's like you guys are Phantom Friends." And that's like the first time we ever heard the phrase. And then at the time we were like really racking our brains on like what is a replacement for, I was gonna say jitsu, for jitsu, because like even like our fans and stuff that were like coming out to shows, like they would mispronounce it still and stuff, and it's like, okay, how are we gonna like get name recognition if nobody can like properly communicate what the name is? So this is like an issue, and like I think we still love what Jistu like stood for, but it was just like too hard to communicate. So then we eventually switched over to Phantom Friends because it was just easier, and I think we all still think it's like extremely cheesy. And we for a while were looking for another band name to replace it, but we're kind of like,
no, I think you're stuck with it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to keep the name. Let's talk about this little bottle of sauce I got in my hand right now. Phantom Friends has their own sauce. You can marinate with it. My wife and I use it on tacos mostly. Thank you for the second bottle, by the way. So how did this come about?
I think we were kind of just racking our brains for like merch ideas, and it's like
Sorry, but it makes so much sense that a bunch of guys working in the food industry put together a band and then start creating their own recipes. Like this is just the beginning, right? We're going to see a whole section of your sauces in grocery stores. But no, go ahead, tell the story.
So yeah, we were kind of racking our brain to try to figure out different merch ideas, and it's like you always see people have koozies, they have lighters, and we're like, what could we do that could like stand out a little bit? And it was our drummer. He got really into gardening during 2020, as a lot of people did. They were staying at home, so he started growing habaneros and started putting recipes together, and we all just like kind of dove in on it. We were like, yeah, let's make some hot sauce. So I think there were a few other different types of hot sauce we made, but like this one mostly, it's just got that sweet heat. It's pineapple peach habanero. There's some garlic and cilantro in it as well. But it's like, it's just a very easy over-the-counter, and that's why we chose to brand it with the Catch the Feeling.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could have also mentioned Catch the Feeling. What kind of success have you seen from that? It is one of the catchiest, coolest songs I've heard in a long time. Like, you guys nailed it with that song. Absolutely nailed it. And have you seen any kind of like success with like streaming or anything like that with that song?
Yeah, I can take. I'm looking at. I work in digital marketing, so I'm already looking at like analytics all day. So like every day, I also go into our like Spotify and iTunes data, and that one like consistently just like gets playlisted by like random people on Spotify, and they'll put it on their playlist, and other people find it and go on, and it's just cool to see like, hey, we got like 5 plays in like Luxembourg on Catch the Feeling. There's like someone like halfway around the world right now like bopping to this song. It's one of those things like, how do we recreate like capturing like lightning in a bottle almost? Like that song just kind of came together, I feel like.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, is there, not to get too deep in the weeds, but like how'd that melody come along? Like, how did that song come together?
I'd say, so I got that synth that's used on the recording, which is a Poly D, which it's like a Moog like offshoot.
Okay.
So really just playing around with that. As far as the chord progression goes,
You come up with do.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I
I
know
think you came up with it, and then I copied it on guitar.
Yeah,
I feel like that's how it started.
somewhere on my computer, there's the original song, idea before we actually kind of broke it down as a band. But yeah, really just started with playing around with that synth, and then taking some chord ideas, bringing it to the band. I remember the harmony between the guitar and the synth was really inspired by like a Tears for Fears kind of thing. Really, like if you listen to Everybody Wants to Rule the World, you can hear so many layers of guitar, synth, things like that. So
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's
gonna be stuck in my head.
partially where it came from.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time it pops on, it ends up being stuck in my head for a couple of days. Like you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Which for you guys, does it get borderline annoying? Like,
Not just yet.
Yeah, not thankfully we've been playing it. And we still get excited to play it.
Yeah,
Good.
it's still fun to play.
Yeah.
And I think the lyrics, like, that came from a place of I was working at a job that was very much like a call center job, so just very
bless your heart.
intense call after call in the insurance business. So that was what I was doing as my day job.
That's
So
rough.
Yes.
those lyrics are basically about taking the initiative to do what you want to do. And I think it's pretty widely applicable to, anything. Just kind of going after your dreams as opposed to doing the dead end job thing.
yeah, I mean, I can certainly relate.
Oh yeah.
Start maniacally laughing at myself right now.
Yeah.
It takes courage. It takes courage. You guys are all still working, right? Like full-time jobs, and you're doing. How often are you gigging? Like, how much of yourself are you still pouring into the music?
So right now we're working on trying to write a completely new kind of concept album. So we practice twice a week, like regardless of anything going on. And then we've been gigging the last like 6 months or so. One, just because we want to like try out some of these new tracks and see how the audience reaction is. And then two, to help get money in the band bank account so we can fund the recording process for this new album. Our priority right now hasn't been gigging, but it's been happening because we also just love playing music, and it's like, that's right, we do this because it's really fun, and it's easy to get stuck in the trap of the practice space and writing, and then like kind of being in a vacuum in a bubble for so long. So like playing in front of a live audience is a good kind of gut check on like, all right, are we doing stuff right? So it's I don't know, what would you guys see? We don't have like a dedicated set of like we want to play this many shows, but we'll play shows that we think are worth like playing right now that aren't going to distract us too much from the songwriting process. But like at the Rooster, like we played here it was like a year ago now or something like that.
I want to say it was November of last year.
Yeah.
It was early. You guys were one of the first bands to like reach out, like as we were leading up to, before. Like the 4 years it took me to get this place open, during that time, I was promoting what we were doing, and I had the website up, but I was kind of quietly going to shows and introducing myself to bands and stuff, bands that I liked, and I was compiling this spreadsheet of different bands with all their contact information. And before I opened, I already had like a couple hundred bands, on that spreadsheet. And then once we started getting the word out, emails would start to come in and stuff. And I went and when we first opened, I had the time to listen to everybody. Now, oh boy, I get so many emails now that the first thing I do is I'll click the link to like the websites and the social medias.
Yeah.
And I kind of prioritize bands that are really active and have a decent following. I'm looking for bands that will bring people in. And then when I find a headliner, I'll kind of work from there and like, well, who else on this list is similar that this could be an opportunity for, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like the younger bands can come in and open shows. But with you guys, was it? I think it was Richie I talked to first, right?
It's one of us.
Yeah. We're both in the band account and on the emails. So
but y'all were really responsive. You guys are professionals. I guess that's what I'm saying. You guys, you're taking it seriously. You're doing all the right things.
Yeah, let's get it.
And it's it is frustrating when like there's a couple. I'm not going to name any names. There's a couple of shows I'm working on right now for a few months out where it's taking days, if not weeks, to get responses on stuff. I'm like, for me, I'm like, is this what it's going to be like?
Yeah, right.
I can totally vouch for this because I don't respond to them, but I see them when they come in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, that's just a one-word answer. We need more than this.
No.
I need an answer. I need to know this.
Emails with one-word answers.
But yeah, I wanted to basically just say, like, we're excited to play here again. Because we had such a good time last time we played here.
It was
guys,
a fun show.
You're telling us, like, we're professionals, but, like, you guys are, like, absolutely professionals. And you've played at other venues, like, outside of Charlotte and just like, around where, like, vibes have been really bad and, like, sound, like, wasn't great. And in here, it was, like, you guys are so, like, friendly and courteous, and you always, like, care to, like, meet us on a personal level and not just a quick like like all right bye. It's like you guys like hung out with that. We all hung out and like we're friends.
Yeah, it's important to me that we build relationships with artists.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to understand why some venue owners are cold. It's this business is fucking hard. Like when we book, like when I book a show where I'm like, man, this is going to be a great show, and then it'll be a great show, but then nobody shows up, and then as the owner, I mean, I could be bitter about that. I could be walking around all pissed off, but I don't see how that helps. Doesn't really help the situation. And it's just like with this show, we had established relationship. When we originally booked this date, the lineup was a little bit different, and then when the lineup changed, I mean, you guys were just fucking on it, and I knew I could trust putting the show in your hands, just from having built some, having taken the time to build a relationship, and that's important. I don't think a business like this can succeed without building good relationships with people. I don't see how, unless you're just buying nationals. And, who's got money for that?
Yeah. Right. True.
I don't know. I hear some of the things that bands go through at other venues, and I'm like, how do they build a rapport? And it just, I don't know. It's just confusing to me. I'm like, how did they run? How? Just how?
I made a joke recently. We've done a couple of DIY gigs, because a lot of times in Charlotte, it's like, in order to make music happen in a few places, it's like, there's no stage, there's no PA. Like, you literally have to put the whole show together. And, like, as we're setting up, I just kind of chuckle and I say to him, I was like, in some dialects, DIY spells die. Yeah. It's a lot. Like, having to, like, basically do, like, a pop-up gig from scratch. You set up everything. Like, we don't have a road crew or anything. It's just us, The
worst part of playing music is the before and after the shows and having to set up and break down. Absolutely. But again, the last thing I wanted to shout out about Rooster is y'all's like stage, your sound, is like it's one of my favorite stages that I definitely ever played on easily.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you guys like crush it with the on stage audio levels and everything. Make sure everyone can hear everything properly. And again, the stage is like massive, so you're not like packed into one spot. Like I think we all like to move around a lot while we're playing, so having that freedom to be able to do that, I think it encourages like a better performance because you can it's easier to express yourself on your stage. Basically, is what
I appreciate that, and that was intentional. Mm-hmm. For those that have some people have complained like we don't have enough food, and it's like I had a decision to make. Do I want to invest in a commercial kitchen, or do I want to invest in making the shows better? And that's why we have a very small food menus, because I'm not really trying to serve dinner. I'm trying to have entertainment, trying to entertain people and capture people's attention and keep them here hanging out. We've added some games and stuff for other stuff to do, but it was so super important for me. What you just said, that's why I did that. I wanted the artist to be like, this is the place to play.
This is it. Yeah.
I had a conversation with somebody last night. They're like, y'all should serve more food. And I said, while you're up there performing, do you really want somebody stuffing their face, or do you want them up at the front of the stage? And they were like, oh, valid point.
If I've seen someone crush, like 40 buffalo wings in the back, I'm like, I'm jealous. It's cool.
Like, dude, I saw you sit there and go, And you came up. Did you wash your hands? You know, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million different ways to do this. You know, working with promoters, working directly with bands. There's so many variables to doing what we do, and I wholeheartedly believe that like we can all do better by working together, and that's why like I'm grateful that there are other venues, even if the experiences might not be as great for performers. There's still places to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how far out you guys go. Have you ever had a chance to get down to like New Brooklyn, down in Columbia, or
Not yet.
Art Bar?
That's the plan for next year. Basically, like right now, we're really just trying to focus on new music, record it as well as possible, promote it as well as possible, and then try to hit like a regional, like Southeast regional kind of tour situation.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see you guys go hit, Columbia, Greenville,
Me too.
Charleston, Wilmington.
I think Charleston y'all might really go over well.
Yeah,
in Charleston.
y'all should definitely hit the beach in the summertime, man. There's some money to be made down there.
I know Dom's been getting over to Charleston with his other group that he plays with, but yeah, you've been talking up kind of the scene that's happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely has a unique scene.
The music scene is really nice, and like I'll just say about Charleston in general, it's like most people, it's like vacation vibes. So it's like everybody is much more appreciative of everything. It's like you go to the store, you get an apple, and it's like, this is the best apple ever. It's like, of course it is. You're at the beach. You know, like you're not working today. Like there's definitely a vibe like that. But like in certain areas, just you get more of like that influx of people that they just walk in and they're really surprised and like they're happy to see like a different group and just really excited. And I think that you can find that going all up and down the coast, but like different cities everywhere. I think we found that when we played in Gastonia here last time. It's like we've played for so many people on a regular basis in Charlotte, but we had like an all new audience here. And it's like people hadn't experienced that before. So it's like trying to find those little pockets, and just play as much as possible.
Now, do y'all get out often to see other bands in the scene? Like, do you have bands that you like to go support and go to shows? You want to shout out anybody that's doing really well right now that maybe is not on my radar?
Well, we just played at Petra's in Plaza Midwood in Charlotte, and it was a great show. It was a sold out show. We played with a new band called Casseticate. They were very, very good, but
Super good.
10
out of 10.
It was actually our original drummer or second drummer for Phantom Friends, and then like it was his new band. It was very nice, and then we played with another group called Mom Rock that night.
Mom Rock.
Yeah, they popped up on my Instagram.
Really?
Mom Rock was great.
Maybe that's
Really
because
good.
I'm a mom. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll say also like Family Video. I think we have a really good time at their shows. They're really good, and their synth player just like made a giant crazy like LED synth that he like wears and plays.
It looks like a
Nice.
guitar, but it's a little bit. It's more original.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Very
Definitely
cool.
love them. There's a lot of other bands probably.
Noir
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
They've been killing it, and they have just like a very classic, almost Charlotte sound to them. This kind of like post-hardcore sound, but just the musicality and the stage presence is amazing. In addition to who y'all mentioned.
Yeah, which we'll be playing with them here at the Rooster in a very short amount of time, a week and a half or so, 2 weeks.
I think that's interesting. You said a classic Charlotte sound.
Yeah,
I've never heard that. Sorry, I've never heard that. That's interesting.
I think of Tremont used to be
Yeah.
like my go-to spot,
Right?
and the sound of the bands that you would hear at Tremont on any given night is pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can y'all add anything to
Yeah.
that? What am
No,
I
I
trying
mean,
to
I
say?
There's
agree.
like a
I just think
certain.
it's interesting.
It's hard to put into words, but there's definitely a certain like sound and style, whether it was like conscious or unconscious, that a lot of bands shared in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like to me, like my version of it that I would put into words is probably like it's kind of like a post-hardcore influence on some level. But I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to put into words. But you can hear it with, especially if you listen to like bands like the Lights Fluorescent from like the early 2000
Yeah.
era. of like the Charlotte music scene, like Mickey Biscuit, like those
Yeah.
old bands. There was definitely like a commonality of like some dangerous element to the music on some level.
I just like hearing that description, that Charlotte sound. That's cool. I would love to hear.
I think a lot of
Gastonia
it
sound.
comes from like I know it's all changed now, but like 93.3 The Planet.
Yeah.
In Charlotte, like you can barely get it, so like the station's like in and out.
You
So
can-
I'm sure everybody experienced that. At
Oh
some
yeah,
point.
yeah. You had
So
to
it's
you
like-
had to be in the west side of Charlotte, and
Yeah.
you had to point towards South Carolina to get that radio station in clear.
So
It was like the best stations, so you like had to
Right?
try. Yeah.
You had to.
So there was like a little bit of rock going on, but then it was like the stereo fuzz.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it got to everybody in Charlotte at some point. Malcolm Gladwell's gonna write about it. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's very like melodic guitars for one thing, and I feel like part of it is the orchestration. Usually, you have multiple guitars. Usually, there's some like at the drive-in influence, which is like Omar Rodriguez, who has the very
Saw them
Back to Mars
at,
Volta again.
I saw
Yeah.
them at Aftershock a few years back. My wife was big fans of theirs, and it was an interesting show. I'd never
Nice.
seen them live before. It was kind of cool. So,
that would be a dream show.
Yeah, I had to see them at Shaking Knees. I think it was the same Shaking Knees we actually Phantom Friends originated from. I think it was the same. It was like maybe that same day. We saw it at the Drive-In Reunion show. I never thought of it like that in the timeline.
Yeah. But that's what I think of when I think of, I guess, if
Yeah.
we have like a regional sound, it's usually a lot of focus on effects on the guitars, usually two guitar players, something a little bit heavier, but all around heavier rock with really nice melodic elements, and then everybody kind of has their own take on it from there.
That's a good way to put it.
Do have to shout out to Council Ring. They'll be on the show on the 4th as well, but they're actually across the hall from us at our rehearsal space. We play in a place called the Playroom.
Oh, Scars is
Yeah.
Scars Remains got a spot there.
Oh,
They were
really?
here last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool spot. I've been down there. We went there to do a podcast with them in their practice space, and it's kind of cool seeing all the shit on the wall in there and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the different artists that have recorded there and stuff. It's pretty
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice having a dedicated space, and it's a very like secure location
Yeah.
also. So
Yeah,
feel comfortable having our equipment there, full time.
It's also like kind of inspirational to like. I mean, every time we've been practicing there for like years now, but it's still cool to like know like all these other artists have been through this place to record or practice or write music, and like we're in the same building working on our own music where. Like Usher played, and like Three Doors Down did stuff, and like there's like a countless rotation of huge acts that have come through that place, and it's it's like humbling and inspiring. I think
Council
on like a
Ring-
weekly basis still to go in there.
Council Ring is there's I don't know if he wants his business out there. There's a guy in a band that played here that owns a venue in Charlotte, and you might know who I'm talking about. But when he was here last, his band was here last month, and he was like, "You need to get Council Ring in here." And I was like, "Well, funny you say that. They're gonna be here in a few weeks." And he was another venue owner who's also a musician was advocating to get them in a venue. So I'm pretty stoked
awesome.
about seeing that.
Yeah, this show's gonna be really good. I think we're all very excited for
Yeah.
the whole lineup.
Yeah, and we're also going to be busting out some new songs while we're here too. So
Cool.
Nice.
we're excited to show y'all what we've been working on, because it's changed a good amount.
Yeah,
Like we still have some of like Catch the Feeling,
Yeah.
songs like that are still going to be in the set list, but we've really been diving deeper into like prog rock, more synthesizer work, and really just pulling more from the inspirations that we like the Mars Volta,
Yeah.
for instance. Rush for me is like one of my favorite
Oh man,
groups.
my one of my uncles is a drummer, and growing up, he was the biggest Rush fan I've ever met in my life. Like when I was a little kid, his room was all Rush posters, and then one of my other uncles played guitar, and he was a super Kiss fan. So he had all the Kiss shows. So like Rush and Kiss, right? Two like the most influential
Yeah.
rock and roll bands of their time. very, very different.
Yeah.
Very different. But I don't know. I think it helped kind of lay the foundation for because I one of the things that I get annoyed with, like the boomer generation, when you get into these conversations about music, is how like hardcore they are about this is the right thing, and it's like, shut the fuck up. That's what you like.
That's what you like.
That's what you like, and that's cool. Like, you don't have to shit on somebody doing something different.
Right.
But the thing about Rush is I don't think a lot of people understand just how influential that band was. Those are three of the most talented human beings on the planet at what they do, and to have come together and make so many albums, so much music. I got a chance to see them live a couple times before. Yeah. Oh man, dude. The second time I saw them I was kind of peeved because they had just put out an album. This must have been 2013, 14-ish. They put out an album, and they decided to, like, the whole first hour of their show was going to be the new album.
Yeah.
I saw them around that same time.
So I think it was the Greensboro show that I went to see them, and I was like, y'all are kind of being assholes right now.
Like, nobody knows
Nobody knows what you're doing. But I still love them, man.
Of course.
Because they really did lay foundation for so much progressive rock.
Yeah.
You know?
And just that level of synth work that is really satisfying and not like super cheesy.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely some
I mean, I don't know.
cheesy synth bands out
Well,
there.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's a Rush quote on the front of our stage.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So it's from Spirit of the Radio. For the words of the prophets were written on the studio wall.
Oh, yeah.
Which
There's
that
a
line
picture of that.
itself was a tip of the cap to Simon and Garfunkel's song. The words of the prophets.
Sounds of silence.
Yeah, Sound of Silence. I can't fucking talk. But I mean, it's kind of super meta. But that's why I wanted it. I wanted that quote somewhere in here because that quote really, like, I was a kid, first time I heard that stuff, and at the time it was just a cool little bridge in the song, right? But then as I got older and got to know more and learned the origin of the line and all that stuff, it's just always stuck with me. And the way that Rush wrote it was they spelled prophets with the F, because it was kind of what they were saying is they were talking about the commercialization of art and, like, taking all the soul out of art. And that's kind of, I don't know, it's just that line always stuck with me. I always wanted it somewhere, and I didn't expect it to be on the front of the stage, but it just, when I got to talking with the Charlotte Street Art collab, and they were asking about what were you going to do on the front of the stage. I was like, well, I hadn't really thought about it, and so we just kept talking, and that's it. And then we landed on that, and I was like, well, this is the perfect place to put it.
Yeah, perfect.
And I've had several people have come to me and be like, you misspelled prophets. Like,
You missed the point.
As a bass player, I do have to say Rush is kind of loosely responsible for something else that I get all the time. I don't know if anybody else here plays bass, but anytime somebody asks me, they're like, "Oh, what do you play?" I say bass, and they're like, "Oh, slap it a bass, man." And I don't know who to blame more, Rush or Paul Rudd.
It's on Paul Rudd.
It's probably
yeah.
Paul Rudd, but really, I mean, I hear it all the time, and
That's just such a good quote.
it's
though.
probably like almost every time I play, like somebody says it. It's like the new Freebird for.
I was
bass
about to say,
players.
is it like the free bird for bass players?
Yeah, it always comes up. Yeah, but I mean, it's good.
I love you, man. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the name of the movie. Yeah. No, I love you too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
you can catch him slapping the bass here on Saturday, November 4th.
Yeah.
Here at the
Slapping
Rooster.
a bass, man.
So you were bringing up earlier, like, kind of the idea of, like, gatekeeping music taste.
Yeah.
And certain people, will do that, and it's kind of like a negative viewpoint to have. And I think that's something that we, like, actively work on, is continuing, like, so part of our thing, and Dom started this, and we do it every week. But before practice, we have, like, one person put together an agenda, one person figures out a stretch for us all to do, one person figures out a warm-up, and one person sends 2 songs they want the whole band to listen to. And that happens before every practice, so twice a week. We get, like, 4 total songs. And it's awesome because we, like, help kind of push each other's boundaries, because we all listen to, like, very different stuff. Like, we have our Venn diagram of overlap of, we all love this stuff, but, like, I made them listen to, like, German hardstyle techno on the way down here.
Oh wow!
Oh wow.
So we all have our
Ready
own
for
taste.
Was it Electric Callboy?
Oh my god, we just saw them. So I just saw them in New York City, and then I watched like a video from their tour manager, and he said that like they all had like their in-ears in before the shows, and they were all going like this, and their manager was like, "What are you guys doing?" And they were like, "Do you have your ears in?" He was like, "No," and he puts them on, and they're all listening to German hardstyle for like 30 minutes before the show starts, which definitely tracks. But yeah, I think we all kind of continue to push each other's like musical taste.
Yeah.
To an extent, because there's something to appreciate out of like any music. If somebody's like creating something for like an emotional output, there's like something to get out of that.
Even if it's silly, like
silly, like Electric Callboy. They're silly, but they're fun, and they're like
it's nonsense, but it's so much fun, and
so much fun.
You can't not dance when you're listening. Like you can't stop moving.
And it's like it's toxic to get into the headspace of like, well, I have my 2 bands, and that's all I'm going to listen to because they're the best bands in the world, and you're going to miss out potentially on a lot of other cool stuff that you might like more. Like you don't know, but I think it's healthy and important to keep an open mind. That kind of stuff.
I feel like that mindset applies to just about everything in life. I mean, even food. Even like,
oh yeah, definitely.
It's like the kid that won't eat nothing but hot dogs and mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. It's like, try this. It's really good. Yeah. I mean, I know grown-ups that eat like that.
Yes. I think that's just sad. If you eat like that, I still love you, but broaden your horizons.
I mean, I might not like it, but I'm gonna try it. I
brought stuff in here that you tried. What is that? I'm like, here, I brought you one.
I want to know. Yeah, I have an inquiring mind. I want. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm nosy as fuck, and I want to know. I want to know what that sounds like. I want to know what this tastes like. But I do believe that you should apply that mindset to not just art, to everything in life, and give stuff a try. Because you never know. I've learned so much by having an open mind. And I wasn't always that way. When I was younger, I was raised in a Pentecostal church, guys. Like that's there's no open mind in that in that place. So as I got older and started to like meet new people that were different, that didn't go to the middle school thing we talked about before. With like in middle school, it's like that's when everything kind of opens up. The body's changing, all that, and you're meeting all these kids from different neighborhoods because your elementary school was all the kids in your neighborhood, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. And you start to get to know people, and it's like, man, this like there's all these different things. Like, and then I got on this thirst for knowledge kind of kick and wanted to know it all. And it shows in like the way we book shows here. If you look at my Spotify, history, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
and I love it, man. I love it because different things can make you feel different ways. There's different. There's times where there's times where I want to just rock out to some heavy metal, and there's times where I want to chill. And if you're only going to listen to these handful of bands, how do you like? That's not expressing all the emotions. Why are you listening?
Yeah.
What I'm saying? Why are you listening?
I mean, I personally think whenever anybody shares music, it's a very important thing to do. Like, friends that share music are some of the best friends that you can have. Oh, it's just like, hey, I thought you would really like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's almost like an intimate thing. When you share an album or a song with somebody, it's like, hey, I want to. You're literally sharing something like, hey, check this out. And 9 times out of 10, I don't tell people to listen to something that I know they're not going to like. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that's me.
My husband always my husband collects vinyl, and he has his set stuff he likes, but he also ventures out. But then I'm over there going, what is this?
Yeah.
He's like, what do you have? And there's one I'm still trying to chase down. It is it's the Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken album.
Wait, what?
Yes. It's
Colonel
a
Sanders
KFC
recorded?
picnic album.
A picnic album?
Spicy and
yes.
crispy.
Yeah.
It is. And the thing is I saw it one time. I didn't get it. But the price on it has gone up. And so it's harder to find.
Yeah.
But
just
he's like
KFC.
They were like, he's like, no, he goes, my collection is you can bet on it. But my wife's collection, he's like, it's just a whole bunch of random shit. That she's like, oh, this looks cool. I think I'm going to take it home and listen to it. And I've got I've got polka, I've got salsa, I've got everything because I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm gonna take this. I like this one.
That is one thing that I miss. Is really just going to a record store because I don't collect any vinyl currently, but I always used to love. Dom and I actually we used to just kind of, take a look at the covers and really just branch out and just be like, this looks interesting.
Dude, in the 90s, like that was how I hung out, was going to record stores and like I would buy an album just based on the covers from something. Just like, this looks cool.
Yeah.
And then you would get one of those albums that you could listen to from beginning to end, and nobody knew who they were, but you just happened to pick them up because, hey, that album looked cool.
Yeah.
I like, just as like a coming into music story, it's like, for me, I used to go to this place called Cash Converters in Illinois, and like they had this section that was all used CDs, and I would just go in and I would buy things based off of the cover, and I'd just be like, I've never heard of this before, and I got just so many life-changing albums just from like, I was a teenager at the time, and I was just like, this looks cool. Pablo Honey, for instance, is one that I grabbed then, and I had no idea what it was really. I was like, let's go for this, and blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Radiohead fan now still, but I just gave it a chance that day. Would I have found out about them later? Potentially, but like just being able to open up and give it a chance.
And actually checking out the whole CD too, or the whole album also, because it's really easy to judge a band by, like the first 30 seconds of their most popular song. And like Pablo Honey, for instance, what's that song at the end of Pablo Honey that's just like completely different from the rest of them?
Well, you're talking Blowout.
Yeah, Blowout. So Blowout's like this amazing song on that album, and you would never knew that existed if you didn't actually like take the time to kind of dig into that album.
Remember putting on CDs and like how many bands put like a hidden song?
Like,
we
talking about
this.
For it.
Yeah, and like, how do you do that in today's climate? We were like, we can't. Like, we were joking, like, maybe we can hit up Spotify and be like, okay, if somebody listens to every single track in order, then you can give them this extra track. Like, it only plays if you've listened to every other song in order. Yeah. Like, is that possible on some level? Because like, it's so fun to find the hit. Like, you put on like Smash, you like leave that album on in your car and you forget about it, and then like there's 3 minutes of silence, and then it's like the boom 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 thing, like out of nowhere, like what? And you look down, and it's like 8.5 minutes into the last track.
Right.
It's just hidden in there.
Big Villainous has a hidden one on his CD, but I don't think it's on his Spotify stuff. So I don't think he just left it on the CD. And if you like it, you buy the CD, and then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We're starting to get into like nostalgia brain.
I know, right?
Yeah, right.
This conversation's going. Shit was just so much cooler.
Right.
It's just, like I don't know, man.
It's his jacket. That's
Is
really
that-
Oh yeah,
that's
we're
really
leaning
is.
into the vintage concepts.
No, I think somebody in my family had that jacket.
Oh my god, they had a really good sense of style then.
Kind of reminds me of like Saved by the Bell. Like
Yeah.
That's that early 90, 91.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like lucky. We were in New York City to see Electric Callboy. We were there for a couple of days, and we just like walked by this. We didn't even know what it was. It was just like a random building that had a bunch of like creepy baby doll heads in the window. And it was
Let's
up these
go in.
stairs. And it's like, yeah, all right, we gotta check that out.
Sounds like New York.
It's this place called, I think it's Search and Destroy or Seek and Destroy. It's one of those two. But it's like a horror vintage thrift shop with like crazy stuff everywhere, like just pictures of like dead bodies and like dildos and stuff like all over the place. But then it has like legitimately the coolest vintage clothing you've ever seen. And then I like literally just walked by and I was like, oh man, I have to buy this. I cannot walk out of here without this jacket right now.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, I want to say one more time that if you come here on Saturday, November 11th to see the Phantom Friends with Nora Noir and Council Ring, you can buy a bottle of Catch the Feeling sauce by Phantom Friends. I can attest it is delicious. Like I said, we used it for tacos, but you can use it to marinate. You can even dip some chips in it. It's delicious. Appreciate that, guys. And then what else? I mean, what do you want to tell everybody? Where to find you? Where to look? You know, where else might you be playing? They said you got a new album that's going to be coming. Hopefully, when that's ready, don't hesitate to call me or to hit me and be like, "Hey, the album's ready. Let's throw a party." I'm gonna be happy to do that for you
That'd be great.
if we're still here.
You want to take it?
So you can definitely find our music on all the major streaming platforms. We don't have a release date yet for this new album, but really we're going to be doing studio time towards the end of this year and hopefully going to have something ready to release just real soon on that.
Yeah, I would say if you are listening to this and you're interested, definitely like hit us with the follows on Instagram and Spotify and iTunes because that really helps us out.
Phantom Friends.
Yeah, so the Phantom Friends. Unfortunately, Phantom Friends is taken and they don't want to give up the name, so it's the Phantom Friends. Check us out. We're also very excited for this new material that we're going to be showing off in a couple of weeks here. But long story short, is we're working on a multi-part concept album. It's like narrative driven about a guy called Jericho who like grows up in the future and goes through a bunch of stuff, and every song is kind of dedicated to a moment in his life and his journey. Completely new kind of like concept for us to push on, and to Matt, like what Matt was saying earlier, it's geared much more towards the progressive rock side of things with more synths, more harmonies, more like tasteful guitar solos, that sort of thing. So we're very excited for it. So the plan is, I think, to try to record this winter and then start hitting a tour beginning of next year when it starts getting warm out.
Rock and roll. Thank you so much for doing this, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Oh my God.
Yeah, come check them out Saturday the 4th, November 4th. This is going to be a fun show, y'all. We'll see you later. Peace and love.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.